Hi, I'm Kevin LJ, a New Zealander living in northern Thailand who loves to garden and loves to cook in my wood-fired oven. Today's video I'm going to share with you from Suan Sook Homestay garden. It's about our oven. We built this a little while ago. We've got some other videos on our channel and I'm going to be putting the finishing touches to the construction of it today by adding a layer of hydrated lime plaster. I'll mix this with sand and some colour and some water and add this additional layer, which will just help keep our oven safer from the elements. Yeah, we've got a roof over it, but the wind and the rain come in here pretty strong and the sun beats down on it. So adding this layer of lime should give it that little bit more protection and probably insulate it a little bit better as well. So that's what I'm doing. I was going to live stream this today, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. So this will be a practice run for when I do live stream. And that's when I'm going to spend a week or so baking in the oven every day. I'm just going to practice with it and get a feel for it to really get used to what it's like cooking with a wood-fired oven rather than cooking with gas or electricity. We've used it somewhat already. We've made some good pizzas. I've made some okay loaves of bread, but I really want to put some hours in on consecutive days and get some really good practice so I can get a feel for the oven. But before I can do that, I've got to get it finished. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to start by adding some of the colour to our mix, and just initially just with some sand, and then I will add some water and add the lime as well, but we'll just mix this in a little bit to start with. And you can see from the coat that we've put on already, I've got a couple of layers on here already that I did another time. It requires 3 layers to really seal and protect the oven. So I experimented with the colour. I wasn't sure how it was going to look, but we've got it looking pretty nice, so we'll roll with this. The first time I worked with the lime, I just used my regular gardening gloves. They're a bit porous, so my hands got incredibly dry. The lime is not good for your skin. These gloves are a bit on the small side. So using the rubber gloves, or one because I can't find the other one and those black ones are too small, it just helps protect your hands a little bit more, because the lime is dries your skin out incredibly. The first time I mixed this up, I had thought I'd overdone it with the water. It was a little bit sloppy, but I found actually that works the best, because if it's too dry, it's crumbly and it doesn't stick so well. So getting a good consistency is really important, because, as I was saying, if it's too dry, it's going to be crumbly and it won't stick so well. And if it's too wet, it's just going to sag. It's feeling very good. Yeah, that's probably enough. So the right tools are important. Good old trowel, couple of trowels, a larger one and a small one. And then this really high-tech piece here is a plastic lid off a food container that I've trimmed the edge off. I saw somebody online had shown this, and it's just a good flexible curved piece that allows you to get into the tricky little bits. So having those few things there is going to help me do a better job. So looking to get this on reasonably quickly, because I've got to work my way around the oven. So having a little bit of experience, having added 2 layers previously, I've decided that doing the sides first like this is best because this is covering the bulk of the area in the shortest amount of time. Once I get round onto the front and round at the back, there's the door and the vent, and it just takes a little bit more messing around to work on those areas and get them looking nice. I'm very happy with the way this is applying. The mix is just right. So now to the other side, see how much we can get on this as quickly as possible, and still getting it looking nice, of course. As I said earlier, I was going to live stream this, but had some technical difficulties. It was going to be a dummy run for once the oven is completely ready. So once this layer is on and dry, I am going to spend a week or so baking every day. Well, that's my intention, is to fire up the oven and bake and experiment. So I've done some pizzas. Pizzas are pretty good, happy with those. Always experimenting to get the base better and things like that. But I have baked bread for, as long as I can remember, mostly using electricity. And so now that I've got a wood-fired oven, I want to experiment with this. My grandmother apparently used to love cooking with a wood-fired oven, and Mum was telling me recently that Grandma Nana always talked about how wonderful a wood-fired oven was to work with, so it's kind of in my blood. And then my granddad was a baker, so he had his own bakery in Christchurch in New Zealand. I never saw him bake, never met him, but my mum always used to bake. There was always cookies and cake and things like that in the house that were home baked, and never been much into the cookies and things for baking myself, but I've always enjoyed baking bread. And all kinds of breads I've done focaccia and bread rolls, and I've always got a loaf of fresh bread, usually baked once a week. But I want to experiment and get it to a point where I can confidently put a loaf of bread in my wood-fired oven and see good results. So far when I've tried, they've been okay, but I've got to get used to the oven in as much as getting the temperature right, and just getting for a feel for how to bake in a wood-fired oven, because it's a different type of heat. It's not coming from a gas flame, it's not coming from an electric element, it's coming from inside the oven itself. It's coming from the mud, the stored heat in the mud, and somewhat from the fire, but that depends on what state we're at with the fire. And so the times that I've baked some bread, the first time it was quite crispy on the outside but not cooked in the middle, so my oven was too hot. The next time was a bit better, but not quite right. And I think the second time I'd forgotten to cut the bread as well, so it cracked and looked pretty weird, and it also affects somewhat how it cooks. But I've been watching quite a few videos actually, about making bread in the last few months, and I've been watching one French baker in particular whose style and technique inspires me, and I've already changed the way I knead my bread and mix my loaf, and I am making actually the best loaves of bread I've ever made, just inside using the bread maker to cook it, but I'm kneading it and shaping it and working with it with my hands rather than with the machine. Now I'm on to the last section, the back section. Oh, this is all dried quite quickly here because the winds come up. I'm not sure how much of this is being recorded because cameras that I thought would work if they were plugged in don't work if the battery's flat. So it's a new revelation to me, but we'll make the most of it. So I've got both the sides done. I've got the front done, which is the trickiest part because of the shaping that I've got to do there. And now I've got a little bit more shaping to do around the back here, around the vent that we've got in the back of the oven. I'll use my hands around these curved pieces, but I've got a bit more shape and it's not possible to get in there with my trowel. And I just found that doing it by hand works a lot better. Just allows me to get it fairly smooth and just flow with the shape and get it pressed in and stuck on well. So when I was designing the oven, I watched lots of videos, done a lot of reading. My friend Mike gave me a great book that was very helpful to talk about the design and in particular the getting the shape and the door height right so that the oven can maximize the temperature when it's when the fire's burning, and so that not too much heat escapes through the front and through the flue. But this was something, adding this piece to the back here, this vent at the back, is great because it helps to regulate the airflow in the oven when you're getting the fire started, particularly. And then it also allows me to push the ash out the back of the oven when I'm cleaning it. So rather than dragging it across the front of the oven, I just push it out the back and catch it and then add it to our garden. Just got to add a little bit at a time. Too much, then it's just going to fall off. Get my trusty plastic yogurt container lid and just work with this fairly gently, especially around areas that are still quite wet. Otherwise you end up making gouges in the wet plaster where the plaster's dry, and just cleaning up the wet edge so I can apply a little bit more pressure. Areas like this where it It's just the plaster that I just put on. I need to be fairly gentle with it. Now this really is the stage where one could spend hours more smoothing and troweling and adding a little bit more and a little bit more to get it perfect, but I'm not going to do that because I know it won't ever be perfect and I got other things to do. There is the pizza oven in all its finished glory, if you like. Yeah, pretty happy with that. The shape's nice, a little bit of a dust down, a brush off, and I think it should be pretty good. So stay tuned. Like I said, I aim to live stream a week or so where I'm going to fire up the oven every day, every morning, and do some baking. And I've yet to decide exactly what I'm going to bake and how I'm going to do it, but I will show as much of my process of making bread, making pizza, and making, I don't know, whatever else I try. Meat pies, I'd love to be able to make good meat pies, and even fried burger patties. We did those in the oven a couple of weeks ago, and it worked a treat. It was really good. So stay tuned for the live stream coming hopefully within the next month, or at least a couple of weeks, I hope, not a month, and we'll have some fun with that. Thanks for watching.